Good evening. I am Taisha Presley, the owner and the founder of Legacy Empowerment Services. We are going to be international, so I'm going to start speaking that. We are an international private practice. We're located in Charlotte, North Carolina, and we work with adolescents and young adults who have experienced some type of dysfunction, some type of childhood dysfunction. And you know what? They want to rehabilitate their lives. They want to get their lives together. So that's what I help them to do. So you guys are in for a treat today. I cannot wait until our guest comes on and joins us because it is absolutely going to be a treat. I'm going to see if I can go ahead and invite her to the live. I have to wait until let's see if I can go ahead and invite her. There we go. So she can hop on. I'm a little bit early because I am multitasking tonight. I am in a training on one computer and I am live with you guys on another. So we are a little bit early tonight so that I can multitask properly. So please do not mind that. And you can catch the replay if you come in late. Okay. So let's talk about why we are doing this. Why are you meeting every Thursday for the next couple of weeks and on last Thursday? We are meeting every Thursday because single moms and co-parenting moms are important to me. And what I have noticed is that a lot of single moms are committing suicide. There was a recent young lady that was in the news. She was maybe in her 20s or early 30s, and she had 2 kids. She was so young, beautiful young lady. And the news report said that she committed suicide. But that's not the most, that is very devastating. Good evening as you guys are coming in. Thank you for joining us. But that was not the most devastating thing to me. The most devastating thing to me was that for months upon months upon months, this young mom would cry out for help. She cried out for help via Facebook, via her messages on Facebook, and I don't know that people really heard her. She never really felt the support from her child's father, from her family, from her friends. And because of that, this young lady committed suicide. And after I saw that, my heart just broke. My heart broke for moms who are not feeling supported and who do not have a tribe. Because it's important to build your tribe because sometimes family and friends, they have their own life going on and they are not able to support you in the way that you feel like you need support. And so tribes are important. Mommy tribes are so important. So this young mom did not have her tribe. She cried out for help. She did not get that help. And unfortunately, her struggle ended in suicide. Broke my heart, you guys. That broke my heart. And I said, if I can do anything to help someone else feel supported, then let's do it. And the most minor thing that I can do is to have these conversations on Thursdays so that moms, co-parenting moms, single moms can know you're not alone. You are absolutely not alone in this mommyhood. This is a mommyhood, right? You're not alone in mommyhood. And so my goal in meeting these next couple of weeks is just to be a support, just to be a place to vent, a safe place to vent, to let it all out, to ask questions, to hear wisdom, so that you don't feel alone, so that you can start to build your mommy tribe. And I have a major announcement coming up on the 18th, I believe. So I need everyone that's listening to this live to make sure that you come back on the 18th so that you can hear my big announcements because it's bigly. I said bigly. I was taking a cue from our former president, Donald Trump. It's going to be bigly. So it's going to be super exciting. So I am excited about that conversation. We are still waiting on our guests. It's not quite 8:00. We are still waiting on our guests to join us. So let's just kind of talk about what's coming up. So today we're talking about co-parenting and navigating co-parenting, navigating custody, navigating parenting time, specifically just in general, but also specifically around the holidays. This is huge with my clients. Most of my clients, you guys, are co-parents. I have some married clients, but a lot of them are co-parents. And here's something that I think that is important to know. What I think is important to know is that even if you are in the same home with your parenting partner, you guys are still co-parenting. And I don't think that people realize that if you're married, if you are cohabitating, you are still co-parenting with someone. So that means that all of the strategies that we talk about directed towards single moms and co-parenting moms apply to you too. And so I would like all my married moms to also join us because these strategies apply to you. How do you diffuse crises in your home? Applies to you too. Good evening as you guys are coming in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We have a party. And talking about parties, I have something that I'm drinking in my mug. I didn't tell Tracey to bring her drink, so I'm hoping that she brings her drink, but this is my special mug. So I have my mug. And what I'm drinking today, I normally don't drink. Everything. So I'm drinking a muscadine wine tonight, and I am excited about it. Okay. All right. So we're waiting on Miss Tracey Bee to join us, and so next week I have assembled a panel of seasoned, wise moms. I call them grandmas, nanas. So they will be joining us next week. There are going to be 3 moms, like old school moms, healthy moms, conscious moms. They will be joining us on next week. And I am excited about the conversation next week. Let me tell you guys something. When I come onto these lives, I am just Ty the mom. I am not therapist Ty. I am just Taisha the mom. And so next week, especially, I am going to be sitting at these moms' feet because they are so wise. They are so wise, and I'm so excited for them to volunteer their time to come and talk to us, okay? So we are waiting for her to come on. I just sent you the invite, Miss Tracey Bee. So you have to just accept it, and then you will be able to join us. And y'all, I'm from New York, so if I'm talking fast, don't mind me. That's just my northernness coming out. So yes, so next week we have the panel of seasoned grandma nanas coming on to talk to us. Please join us. I love wisdom. Hi, Tracey.
Hey, how are you? I'm good.
Good.
Glad I made it because I was like, let me hurry up.
It's okay. I was just chit-chatting. I was just telling them that next week we have a panel of seasoned mom. Like, I love wisdom. And so we have a panel of nanas, conscious nanas coming on. You know, in my culture, we talk about sitting at the feet of wisdom, sitting at the feet of our elders. And so our elders, some of my elders are going to be coming on next week and just teaching us. And so we're just going to sit at their feet. And I'm excited about that on next week. So thank you so much just thank you for agreeing to come on today. I met you maybe a month ago.
Yes.
So I have been researching family law, researching all of this stuff, being Taisha mom. And I came across your group, and we'll talk about that later, I'm sure. And you are a wealth of information. I love your heart. And so just thank you so much for agreeing to come and sit with us. And we get to sit at your feet tonight. Yes. So I really appreciate it. Tell us how you got started in this field. You were talking about that earlier. So she has a group. She'll talk about her group. But in your group earlier today, you were talking a little bit about your past. So tell us how you got into this field.
Yes. So I was a family law attorney for a long time, maybe about, actually practicing maybe about 10 years. And then I got pregnant and had my son. I had my son a little earlier, so I took time off to just be mom, like you were just talking. And I always had planned that for my life. When I had a baby, I was just going to do nothing else but have my child and be mom. And that's what I did. And so I went back and I tried to go back to family law practice when he was about 6, 7, and it wasn't for me. I was like, nah, I'm done with this. Can't do this. Yeah. So I was like, but I still like dealing with the clientele, with the audience, with the clients I was helping. And so I decided to sort of pivot, especially once I experienced a lot of losses in life. I decided to branch out a little bit and help people in the way. I have a mental health undergraduate degree. And so I decided because I was supposed to become a psychologist, and I decided at the last minute. Yeah, I decided at the last minute to go to law school instead. So that's a whole nother story. But anyway, so I decided, you know what?
It's kind of, you know what, Tracy? It's kind of the same thing, to be honest with you.
And all family law attorneys say the same thing. It's that they say it all the time. You definitely use your psychology degree right here with this. Yes, you would definitely every single day, all day. Yes, it is. So I decided, you know what? I still want to help the same group of people, but I want to do it in a different way. I wanted to pivot a little bit, and born out of that was me, the family court strategist, coach, consultant, writer, author, speaker, everything else. So, and I love helping people. I love helping people in the way that I do. So, and that's where I am. That's exactly how I got here.
I love it. Like, your love for it shows in everything that you do. Like, your love and your passion shows. So we the community, appreciate everything that you pour out. So yes. So what are the number one things that you find that people don't know about family law that you think that they need to know?
What really bothers me is a lot of times people have a misunderstanding about family court, the process itself. And what I mean by that is a lot of them are naive, and not there's nothing wrong with it, but a lot of them are naive to think that family court is about applying the law. They want to know the truth, and that's it. You think, you hear a lot of times people will say, "Oh, but
It's kind of similar because sometimes when we're co-parenting, oh, there you are.
yes.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. So we lost you at the lying. He's lying on his paperwork.
Yeah, he's lying in his paper in court.
Wow.
Yes. Or, well, the judge didn't use the law. The law is this, but the judge, misapplied the law. How did that work? It happens. Or, it's usually those things: the lying and the law not applying in the best interest of the child's standard. Well, it's not in my child's best interest that the judge awarded such and such, A, B, and C. Well, guess what?
So let's slow down. So what is the best interest of what does that mean? So before we even talk about what does that mean, let's go all the way back. So I work with some married, but a lot of my clients are co-parenting. So with parents that are co-parenting, they're co-parenting either with dads or moms that are absent or that are involved. So let's just start with what is custody? What does all of that mean? And what does it look like as it pertains to just general everyday people?
Okay, so I'm glad you brought that up too, because Very good.
What's going on tonight with Instagram? But we are having a problem tonight. But let's just keep going.
Okay. So I was saying there's a difference between sole custody, joint/shared, and 50-50 custody. Those are three different things. Now, even within those three different types of custodies, each state defines them differently.
Wow.
So sole custody in New York may be defined differently than sole custody in the state of Washington. And the same thing with joint and shared. And so when people think, when I want joint custody, or I was awarded joint custody, that doesn't necessarily mean 50-50. 50-50 means the kid splits 50-50 time with both parents. That's the only thing that's the same across the board. If the state is 50-50, it's 50-50, meaning 50-50 physical time. But
you really have to know your state's laws.
You really do. And so then that's why it bugs me when people ask generic questions and expect generic answers without saying where they live, what the circumstances are and all that stuff, because it varies. But and the other thing is that a lot of people assume that that I'm going to fight for sole custody, I'm going to get it. If you're in a state that's not a presumed joint, that is a presumed joint custody state, guess what? The chances of you getting sole custody is like this, 0. Because there are some states that it's across the board, they're going to award joint custody. New Jersey is one of them. New Jersey is a joint custody, 50-50 physical state. You have to, that's the starting point. So you have to go into court working this way to, pretty much knock it down, and explain to the court why that should not be the case as opposed to why it should. You know what I'm saying? And so, so this, you see the difference? There's a huge disparity. There's a huge disparity in that.
So what I love about you is that you get us to think from a legal lens and get away from our emotions. Is that like one of the toughest things that you have to deal with in terms of moms or dads that are co-parenting?
You know what? I'm going to be honest with you. It's harder with moms. And I get it because I'm a mom. We carry the babies and we want to protect. And so, but a lot of times, unfortunately, that's what creates the problem. Because when I get moms in the courtroom, and when I was practicing, and I would have to okay, come on, let's go through the practice. Let's breathe. Let's decompress. Let's bring the anxiety down. Let's that mama bear, tame that mama bear right now, because we're walking in there. And judges do not like to see moms coming in there ablazing like, I'm mom and I get to say this and I get to say that. They hate that. And that's the biggest challenge for me, is getting moms to say, listen, I'm a mom, I get it, I know. But listen, you better tame that down just a little bit. When you walk out the door, hey, do whatever you want to do. But in the courtroom, don't give the judge that impression. So with mom, it's pretty much that way. And, like I said earlier, I didn't understand exactly because I wasn't a mom for a long time while I was practicing. But now that I am, I can totally relate.
What would you say so some of my moms that I work with are co-parenting, or not really even co-parenting, because their father, their co-parent, is absent. So what advice would you have for them? And I know that you cannot give legal advice, but from a strategy position, what would you say to moms whose dads are absent, or dads whose moms are absent?
And this is the thing. So believe it or not, it's a different story if it's dads that's absent as opposed to mom. Yeah, unfortunately, yes, it is. It's a different. Well, what? I'll say this: in unmarried cases, yes, it is, because most states, when paternity has not officially been established, most states give sole custody to mom automatically, right? So if dad's been MIA, you know what? If you don't want to open that can of worms, let him stay MIA. Because guess what? You have sole custody right now. But the moment you take him to court, automatically paternity is established. And guess what? Once paternity is established, dad has equal rights. Dad can literally get joint custody if you're in a joint custody state, even though he's been MIA. Being MIA is not a factor. It's not. If he's dead, he's dead. You know what I'm saying? And that's a huge misconception people, especially moms, get. Oh, well, he hasn't been in his life, and now all of a sudden he wants to take me to court for custody, and he's been inactive. He hasn't done anything. Guess what? You open that can of worms, or what he did, however you guys got there, now that it's there, paternity is going to be established. And guess what? He's going to get either joint custody or shared custody, or you'll get sole custody, but he'll get visitation. So, and that's how it goes. Yes.
That's crazy.
Yes. As opposed to,
okay.
Go ahead.
No,
as opposed to if mom is MIA. If mom is MIA, that's a little different. However, it's harder for mom to reestablish herself as the primary caregiver if she's been the one that's been MIA. Unless there's been legitimate reasons. And of course, every state's best interest standards vary. They vary in what they are, and they vary in how they're applied. But in most cases, for the most part, if mom has been MIA, and because, society looks at us as the primary caregiver, we're the nurturers. And so you decided to be MIA with your child, you have a harder time explaining to the court and convincing the court that you should get custody, or especially sole custody. Yeah, you have a tougher time than dad would have had he been the one that was MIA.
Wow, that's crazy. So there's double standards even in the court system.
Yes,
we understand that. Yes. So paternity is established. Dad is the dad. What then if dad decides to be inactive? Or what if you get a judge to order child? So I hear so many times moms say, I don't even want to go through court because I'm going to be missing work time from work, and it's no use. They're not going to make them do anything. What? Help me to believe in the system is what they always say.
I agree, and I'm glad you brought that up too, because I hear that a lot. There was a conversation I had today about that, as a matter of fact, and so I agree. So for the most part, you have to know, and from a humanity standpoint, you have to do what's morally right for not just yourself, but for your child. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it does come back to bite you, but you know what? It's if you can live with your conscience to keep dad out of once a court order has been adjudicated, and you decide to ignore it, or he decides to ignore it. Either way, you have to live with that morally. Legally, though, once a court order has been put in place, and I had to say this to several people today, no one's going to come into your house to make sure they're banging them on the head to make sure they're living by the order, right? The reality is, court order is a piece of paper. You can ignore it if you want to, right? And the reality is the consequences, which is called contempt. The consequences for contempt are so minimal that there's really no incentive to abide by the court order. You know what I'm saying? That's the reality. And it's sad, but that's the truth. That's where we are in our society. You can be ordered visitation. You can be ordered to pay child support, and you can stop paying child support when you want. You can stop visits when you want, because the consequences are so minimal that it's like, why bother? So if you... Go ahead.
So on the internet, on Facebook, I've been seeing this post kind of hit the Facebook streets about an IRS form that you can report a dad's income or something like IRS fraud or something to that extent. What are your thoughts about that?
It doesn't, and because I've seen that too, and I'm like, and then I'm glad you mentioned how I'm trying to get people to shift their thinking, because when you make a decision, I want you to always think about what you think the consequences or the outcome is going to be. You know what I'm saying? So now you reported them to the IRS. Now what do you think is going to happen? You think the IRS is going to waste their time trying to find a dad who's been lying about, what he reported as his earnings? $20,000. You really think they have the manpower to go after every dad who gets away from paying child support because they're lying about unreported income? No, they don't have the manpower. So you can report them on once in a blue moon. Yes, you happen to luck up, and they'll find them, and they'll make them pay, and they'll impose penalties. But it doesn't happen very often, to be honest with you.
So moms have no recourse, or dads have no recourse? Yeah.
Unfortunately, no. The only thing is that, there's other things. There's other tangential things that happens when dad ignores support orders. That's his passport, his driving privileges. Of course, he's subjected to. Some states are really adamant about putting them in jail, which to me, I never agreed with, because then they lose their job and then they really can't pay child support. But, but as far as anything else, no. There's no, if you can work out an agreement with dad off the books, out of court, do it.
Yeah. So that brings up a really good point, because I've had so many discussions with my friends about should moms or dads file for child support, or should they, what point is child support for a dad that's not going to do anything anyway? What's the point?
Exactly.
Or do you think that there's any, so I believe that there are dads that are on a spectrum, or moms that are on a spectrum. So meaning that there are some people that will respond to some accountability. So to that extent, is it about knowing who you're dealing with and knowing how they'll respond to the accountability of the court system? Or Absolutely. Do you think it's just no? Okay.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Because you know me by now. Strategist.
Yeah.
That's strategy. Strategically, right? So sometimes you want to use that as leverage. You don't want an actual outcome. You want it to have some behavioral impact. You want them to do something or refrain from doing something with the threat or the opportunity to say, I can take you to court for child support. You're saying in your head, I would never do it because it's, counterintuitive. But I would need you to know that I can do that to you if you don't do A, B, C, or D. So strategically positioning yourself, that makes sense to me. More sense to me than just saying, you know what, Taisha, the percentage of non-paying child support is about 60%. Yes, 60% of child support orders go uncollected every single year. Yes. Wow. The only reason the states even pursue child support so vehemently is because they get federal tax dollars for doing that. It's not because they want you to get your kid's dad to pay. They just don't want to have to pay, and they get reimbursed. They get matched for every dollar they collect. They get matched, to a certain.
This is the system that people are talking about. That's the system.
Absolutely.
That's the system, because they get reimbursed a portion of the funds for collecting.
Absolutely.
Just for opening the case.
They get a administrative fees for opening the case, and then they get money for every dollar they actually collect. But the payers, they just don't pay, and because they don't pay, most states will have if you notice, every state has a separate child support enforcement office where they'll go after dad for you. You don't even have to do it. They'll do it for you. Yeah. And I'm teaching my son to think. I'm teaching my son to say, every time you see government overstep or overreach, ask yourself why.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. But there's more than, it's 60% of the child support orders that are actually issued are not collected. So why bother? Why bother?
Yeah, that's so sad. I feel for moms though, because sometimes, why bother? Because you are now having to be a single mom and do it all on your own, and that's really difficult.
Yeah, because the flip side of it is, I get it. I believe in making men accountable, especially for their kids. I don't care what you do with anything else, but when you have kids out there who need, and it kills me when dads say, well, if you can't provide for them, then you don't need to have them, give them to me. No, it doesn't work that way. They need the responsibility financially from both parents. You don't get to walk away scot-free, So I get it. I totally get it. Absolutely.
Well, that is a very interesting way of thinking about it. You just changed my perspective, Tracey, and I have my BFF forever just joined us, and this is one of the ladies that I always debate. You need to file for child support. You just changed my total perspective on the system. So I have to now repent to my BFF about my thoughts, okay? I took in new information. All right, so let's talk about when you have a relationship with someone else. I just said, wow, I'm saying I was wrong. Yes, I got new information. And so now I'm saying that I was wrong, okay? This is Taisha. This is just Mama Ty, friend Ty. This is not, okay. All right, anyway, So let's talk about navigating custody and parenting issues when you have an active dad and an active mom, and you are just struggling with the whole co-parenting process. So how do you navigate that part of it? Because sometimes co-parenting can be very, very volatile and very intense when both parents are involved, and sometimes it's really difficult to separate your emotions from what's, as you say, in the best interest of the kids. So how do we navigate that, especially during the holiday season when you probably want your babies to be with you during the holiday, right?
Yeah.
So what do you say about that?
Yeah, so there's a lot of things, I don't know if I mentioned, but I'm very spiritual. So everything I do is premised on spiritual concepts that I believe in. And one of the things that I believe in as far as, dealing with any kind of conflict is you have to try to step outside of that conflict, try to remove yourself as much as you can and see things from a clearer perspective so that you can actually make some headway, right? So I'm a trained mediator now. So from a mediator, yes. So from a mediator, just using some of those skills as well, dealing with conflict, you always want to do some things, right? Basic things. And like you said, you try to, remove emotions. Sometimes that's easier said than done, right? Okay. Right now, let's focus on a central point. That is our kid, our child, our kids, or whatever. Let's both step away from the emotions, step away from our own interests and needs. Let's look at our kid. Let's talk about what's best for the kid. Can we at least agree that we're both going to be focused on the kid and we both know what's best for them? Let's talk about that. Let's talk.
Now, that's hard, Tracey. When you depending on your co-parent, that can be really difficult, and sometimes you need a third party, I believe.
I'm going to get to that. Yes.
Yeah.
So a mediator for parenting or custody or co-parenting or visitation issues, parent coordinator. Parent coordinators do not cost as much as people think they do, and they're everywhere. Some of them will do one session for like $100. It's worth it. It's worth it because sometimes you need a third person, objective third person, not just mom or dad, mother or father, you know what I mean? Grandparents coming in. No, an objective third person who sit there and say, listen, guys, let's just narrow in on the issues. What's really most important? And let me help you do that, And I think, at some point, we all want what's best for our kids, especially if you're active. If you're both active, then that's a testament in and of itself that you're both concerned about your child. So we got to agree on something. We'll at least agree that we can't do this on our own. Let's just get somebody else. Let's get a professional who can help us out. And even if we just take some basic principles from that and go forward, you know what I noticed, Taisha, is usually when a significant other of mom or dad comes into the play where the conflict really gets really balled up and like and stuff. That's what I noticed. A lot of times with active parents, I will say this, and I've been saying this all week, and I had to say it to a client the other day. You cannot control what the other parent, that's not co-parenting. That's not co-parenting. Trying to control the other person's household, how they parent, who they have around the kid. That's not co-parenting. And a judge will tell you that. You cannot dictate. If they have a girlfriend or a boyfriend around the child, if they sleep at somebody else's house, you can't dictate all that. As much as they may bother you, most judges will tell you, you're trying to control the parenting at their house. You can't do that. And so if you learn to let go of some of the control, both parents, not just one, both, if you learn to let go of some of the control and identify it for what it really is, you'll start to understand that if we both really care about our child or our kids, we're going to come to some sort of agreement. Whether we like it, nobody wins. Nobody wins in custody. Nobody. Somebody's always going to be disappointed. Yeah. Somebody's always going to be disappointed. Let's accept that. Let's be okay with that. Well, it's not the end of the world. If it's for my child or for the kids, then you know what? I'll eat that one. I'll take the L. You know what I'm saying?
So we just got a comment that said you can influence that, which is important. I think that it's important to understand your influence, but there's a difference between, in my opinion, and you can weigh in on this, I think there's a difference between influence and control.
There's a huge difference. Of course you can influence. And that's another thing about me with strategy, Taisha.
Strategy.
Yes.
I'm learning to think like you.
That's me.
Yes.
Influencing means you can, of course you can influence. And you can do it, on the low. They don't even know that you're influencing what happens at the other parent's house. But you can do it if you know what you're doing. But to be like this and think you're gonna, because no one wants to be. If I'm dad or mom, doesn't matter which role I'm in. I want to have the equal say. I want you to trust that like I said, I care about our kids just as much as you do. Give me that, So influencing is a children.
Yeah, you know what I found with some of my parents is that, like, especially when it's, like you said, mom, and then the significant other comes into the picture with dad, sometimes there's such a wedge in between. But if mom can connect with significant other in a meaningful way, that influence,
I'm telling you,
that influence, I've had just the mom and the significant other woman in that man's life connecting, and it changed the entire co-parenting experience for my clients.
Every single time I've seen it happen like that way. Exactly. And that's what I mean about being strategic. But, women are, get caught up in their feelings and their emotions, and, the envy and the jealousy and the blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Listen, we're thinking strategy now, my love.
We are past that part. Yes. So sometimes you gotta mourn whatever is dead, so that you can move forward, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And that's how you influence. Not to mention, you let them think that something that they suggested was really something that they wanted. You know what I'm saying? You position it. So you know what I'm saying? Leverage is the key to strategy is accumulating leverage. You know what I'm saying? Every opportunity you get, accumulate leverage. You know what I'm saying? That's it.
That's so good. All right. So parenting time, custody issues around the holidays. I want to make sure we address that part, because people are like, what do we do? What do we do? I want my baby. You want the baby too. What do we do?
Let me tell you. I'm going to tell you from a court's perspective. And I just had this happen. The judge blatantly said to mom last week, sorry, you are going to miss every other Christmas. Get over it. Live with it. That's your new life. That's it. Yeah, they're brutal. They're brutal because that's it. And that's what I tell people. Listen, have 2 Christmases. Christmas is, the December 20th at your house, and it's December 25th at his house. And then next year it flips, or, you'll have Thanksgiving this year and have Christmas this year, or, vice versa. But the reality is, the sooner you come to the reality that you're going to have a new normal, you're going to have to create new memories, you're going to have a whole new way of being, talk to the kids about it, get them involved, let them know. I mean, your baby is a little bit too young, but still, that's the key, because the reality is, that's the number one reason why people wind up filing modification, but contempt and custody cases in the first place, because of the holidays. They fight over the holidays. The holidays and relocation are the 2 biggest reasons why they wind up going to court for a custody visitation in the first place. So get it? You know what? Let me just suck it up. You know what? I had to go through that with my sons. Listen, you take Christmas this year, and I'll take it next year. Or we're splitting the day.
Yeah, I love that. So I have a 10-year-old. And so we were talking about this last week, that when I learned that my 10-year-old actually likes the fact that he gets 2 Christmases, it was like a wrap for me. So now we holiday, we go on vacations, we go to like out of the country or wherever we're going to go on Christmas. And then he has his Christmas and he comes back and he spends time with dad. And it's all gravy, and he loves it. He's bragging with people that he has 2 Christmases. Yep. So it's not for kids. Yep. Kids are resilient. Exactly.
Exactly. And then what kills me is when they're fighting and the baby is like, a year old. I'm like, they don't care. They don't care. It's you. You have to let go. And that's one of the hardest things about being a parent is like, we have to let go of some of what we hold on to for so long and so hard and realize why are you holding on to that? Why are you going so hard for that? You know what I'm saying? It's about the kids now.
Yeah, that's so good. Okay, all right, that is really good. Let me see how much time we got. I'm trying to respect your time. Oh, we got a little bit of time. Okay. So what do you have? Did you have like some thoughts that you want to make sure that we know?
Let me just say this, and this is one of the things. Okay, let me just say, I wanted to just do a brief thing about best interest standards, and I was talking about that earlier, but because I think it's a huge thing, and I think what people are really starting to see or think is that what they think best interest is not. You know, someone will say to me, oh, well, like, you and I were talking. Oh, well, dad is not, he's not the one keeping the kid. It's his mom babysitting while he goes to work. And I think I need to ask for custody because of that. How does that relate to best interest, though? Best interest. He's not even spending time with the baby. But it could be. But just saying that, just putting that in your petition and making that argument is not enough. You have to relate that to the best interest standard according to your state. So, okay, so let's break that down. What does that mean? How does that directly impact the child's emotional, physical, or intellectual well-being? Just relate all of this. So break that down. Don't just say, oh, I have a problem with dad leaving my child with mom while he goes to work, because what it looks like is, again, that control thing. So let's break that down. How does that affect the child? Okay, so when the child comes back to me because he's been with mom all day, now he has diaper rashes all the time, or he's getting an ear infection because she doesn't, you know what I'm saying? You have to make it relatable to the best interest standards, because what you think is best interest is not. I'm telling you, I'm saying this every day to people. It's not. And that's why petitions get dismissed. That's why their cases get ignored. That the judges are like, yeah, what are you talking about? And just totally ignore them because you didn't position it right. You didn't state it right. You didn't do it correctly. It needs to spell out how it impacts the child's best interest standard. The factors, how they relate. It has to be directly related, or you're not making a case.
So it has to be related, you said, based on emotional,
physical, and intellectual well-being. So, and in that order, anything that relates to them doing not good in school, that will instantly get the court's attention. If you make a petition, or you file a modification, if you file a contempt, if you file anything, and the impact is your child not performing well in school, instantly gets the court's attention. Instantly. Okay. Yes.
But you have to have records. You got to keep records.
Have records. Yes. Yeah. More so than you just accusing them of abuse. Unfortunately, which isn't that insane? That the educational neglect will get more attention than the allegations of abuse. Isn't that insane? Because with education, it's easier to measure. You can measure the academics. You can see their performance, as opposed to allegations of abuse.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? That's isn't that something?
That's crazy. Yeah, that's so crazy. I'm just like, as you were saying it, I'm thinking back to this documentary that I saw about a young boy that was murdered by his mother's boyfriend. And like the child custody got involved, and people knew, but they didn't do anything about it. And so hearing you say that just kind of made me go back to that and seeing how unjust sometimes the system is.
It is. It is. And that happens, unfortunately, so often. It happens way too often. It just happened recently, as a matter of fact. It's really, really sad. Yeah. But, because, again, you're making allegations. Everybody knows that, if you want, if in most states that are presumed joint custody state, if you want the judge to not award joint custody, everybody knows all you have to do is make an allegation of domestic violence or abuse against the child, and the courts instantly say, well, no, we can't rule joint custody. So because of that, though, it's a double-edged sword, but because of that, now they question everything that you say is abuse. They don't believe, even if you get CPS involved, they're still like, you see CPS now will be like, oh, sorry. Yeah, he beat your butt, he beat your kid's butt, but sorry, he's not dead. He's alive. Go back,
So I have had clients where they were the mom was being abused, or their father was being abused, and the kid. How do you compel a judge or a court to hear you when there is real danger involved? How do you get that to happen?
And DV is one of the most complicated things to really successfully allege and prove in family court, and especially in custody cases. It really is, because there's so many conflicting avenues, or streams of the information that's coming in. So the best thing, and I understand it's hard, but you have to document it. You have to document it. You have to report it. You have to keep reporting it. You always have to substantiate it by the medical records, police, eyewitnesses of your neighbors, your family, anything like that, and have them come and testify, not you, because that's what a lot of people do. They think they could just go in there and allege abuse, and that's going to be enough. No, bring those records in, bring other witnesses in, and let them be the one to testify. Sure enough, you'll probably get the judge to really hear you and listen and believe it. With kids, the school counselor, the pediatrician, anybody, a therapist, anybody outside of yourself that has to, even outside of CPS, because they don't really, So get those third-party professional perspectives involved, not only involved, to come and testify. To come and testify.
Okay. So Stacey, we got to talk about, Tracey, we got to talk about that part of it. So as a therapist, and a lot of the people that follow me on this particular page are professionals, they're therapists. So that can sometimes be a very big conflict for us, because let's say, for instance, you have a mom that is trying to pressure us or present a case where there is like maybe parental alienation, or the child is going through whatever they're going through. And so that it can position their case in a favorable manner for them. But we as professionals may not see that. Can you just speak to us? Speak to the therapist. I've already asked you to do some work with us. Do a course. It's something I will promote you, because we need it. Because we really do need education around this, because it is something that we experience on a daily basis.
Really? Is it that wow? It's really disheartening. For therapists, it's so hard. And because I struggled with this for years. I used to be a huge advocate for parental alienation, until I hate to be defeated. I hate to feel defeated. I hate to feel like I'm stonewalled. I hate to feel like, I've hit the plateau. And that's what happened with the PA stuff. And so I think from a therapist's point of view, though, it is hard. There's no, unfortunately, there's no right answer. You have to use discernment with coming up with, with what you think is best. What the problem is, though, is that most therapists don't want to come and testify. They don't want to be involved.
We will. Yes, you're right.
And so what they'll say, they'll use the privilege. They'll use they'll use all kind of excuses.
Yes.
But that's what's really needed, though. And it's unfortunate, because I think you guys should be trained on that. But what I tell people too who are in that situation is, there are therapists who are trained, who are prepared, who are experienced enough, who are comfortable enough to deal with that. In my cases, I'd rather them see those kind of therapists, because even with lawyers, there's lawyers who are trained in PA cases, and they're much better equipped to fight, and they know the protocol. There's a PA guy who's a therapist and a lawyer, and so he specializes in PA, and that's it, which is awesome. So he trains therapists and he trains lawyers on how to present these cases more successfully, which I think is awesome, because there's not enough. It's still a dispute. There's still a dispute that it's even an issue. We can't even agree that it's really an issue, that it really affects, the kids, even the parents. So until we get to that point, it's like which comes first, the chicken or the egg, because it's kind of like whose problem is it? The therapist, the lawyers, the judges, the moms, the dads. You know what I'm saying? So there's no easy answer, unfortunately.
Yeah, it is really for us therapists to make sure that we're using our clinical judgment and not allowing ourselves to be influenced or swayed by the influence of mom or dad, because they will sometimes twist their words, they twist the kids' words. They will try to tell you that they're going to report you to your board if you don't, whatever. So it is really something that we got to talk about that later. So something that you do, which I never knew about, is the fact that moms and dads can represent themselves in court.
Yes.
I think that one of the fears about court is it's very intimidating. And you always think that you have to have legal representation, and you think that you're scared because it costs a lot, right? So talk to us about this term pro se. Is that how you pronounce it, pro se?
Yes, it's pro se, yes. And I'm a big advocate of it now, especially because there's so many people who come back to me and say, I spent $30,000 and I still don't have an end result, and I still don't have the outcome that I want, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, and then the lawyers took advantage of me, and they never really fought for me. And I was like, all right, enough is enough. You know what? Let me focus in, because I just started gearing my work toward pro se maybe last year, because it was happening so much. It was happening way too much. I was working with represented people, and then I was like, you know what? I don't want you guys to feel like you constantly feel like you're not being heard. You're being ignored. You're being taken advantage of. You're being ripped off. You're being disrespected. Your rights are being violated. Let me focus on helping you guys have a voice. Show you how to present your case with confidence. Show you how to speak for your kids and yourself and your family. Show you how to not be intimidated by the process. Show you how to understand what's really important. Show you how to interpret the law to your benefit. And that's exactly what I do, because it can't. And some of them actually get better results as pro se. There's some advantages to being pro se, actually. There's some, everybody says, oh, you lawyers get different deference when, just we could say the same thing, but because I'm a lawyer, I'm going to be treated differently. You're right. You're absolutely right. However, because you're pro se and you have constitutional rights, those constitutional rights, they hit different when you're pro se as opposed to when you have a lawyer standing by you. Okay, that's the reality.
So you're saying that my constitutional, even if I'm representing myself, I'm representing myself, so I have rights just as a American citizen. What are those rights? So what are those rights?
So one of the biggest things that I tell pro se litigants is the due process, right? A lot of times I'm hearing, oh, the judge wouldn't let me speak at trial. Whoa, what do you mean at trial? You couldn't speak at trial? You didn't have the opportunity to present your side of the case at a trial in America? You know what? The Constitution gives you that right. They're not supposed to be doing that. They get away with it though, and that's what I keep, saying about family court. They just do what they want to do. It's a
judges.
Yeah, the judges, absolutely. But yeah, you have constitutional rights. You have the right to be heard. You have the right to speak. You have the right to object. You have rights. Just being an American citizen. Yes, the 14th Amendment says you have due process rights. I was trying to remember. I think it's the 5th Amendment too. Girl, it's been a long time since law school. But yes, those rights alone protect you, so that when you're there and you're pro se and you feel like you're intimidated and the judge can trample all over you, no, remind yourself, you're in America. I'm in America. I have the right to speak. I have the right to defend myself. I have the right to put my side of the story on the record. Say my two favorite phrases. I object on the record. I tell pro se litigants, I object. Anytime they say anything you don't like, I object, and make sure everything they say is on the record. I object and on the record, Judge. That's it.
So what does that mean? I object and on the record. For people that may not know.
I object is, say the judge says anything that you don't like, that you don't agree with. I object. Say the judge says, don't say another word, or I'm going to blah, blah, blah. I object. Because what you're doing is you're creating your record. In the event that when this is all done and you don't like the overall outcome, and you think all of those times that judge said things to you that you thought was biased, unfair, whatever, you created your record so that in the event you decide to appeal, all those times you said I object, you created something for the appellate division to review. Now they have something to look at. Something specific to look at because you objected. If you don't object, you don't preserve those issues on appeal. On the record, it's almost similar. Everything they say, there should be an audio recording or somebody literally sitting there recording what they're saying, so that you're creating the record for the same reason. So in the event that you ever need to appeal, file objections, you created a record now, so that, because if it's not recording anywhere, you're going to go and say to a appellate division, this is what happened. They're going to say, well, we're looking at the transcript. We don't see that that's what happened because it wasn't on the record. It needs to be on the record.
This is so good. This is so good. So one thing that I don't think a lot of people know is that I'm an expert court witness. And so I sit in federal court like twice a week, every week. And so now this is kind of making sense why even like my name and my credentials, I have to like say it on the record, right?
Yep.
And so that's making a lot of sense, right?
Yeah.
So everything needs to be on the record, especially when you might want to file an appeal later on.
Absolutely.
So one of the comments that we have is that judges don't like individuals who enact pro se in their particular state, which is New York.
They don't. No, in any state. That's in most states. And that's why, you know, I wish more lawyers would make a more of an effort to get the judges in the courts to not be so biased against pro se litigants, because this is 2022 now. There are more people going to court pro se than there was 15 years ago. With the surge of the internet and all the legal resources on the internet and in the, you know, social media and all that stuff, it can be done. They don't like it though. It clogs up their calendars. It slows down everything. They have to stop. They have to take time to explain things.
Yeah,
they have to be mindful of your due process rights, and they don't like that.
Everything down.
Yeah, it slows everything down. So for them,
really
it's
does.
like, yeah. But you know what? That's what administrative judges are for. If you don't like the way they're treating you, judges have bosses too. They have bosses just like everybody else do. So yeah, you report them. You go and complain to them too. It's a catch-22. Sometimes you leverage. Sometimes you want to use your leverage. Sometimes you just want to stack them and use them later, you know, whenever necessary. But but no court wants to deal with pro se litigants, but you have the right.
Yeah, I do notice that the court hearings that are pro se are a lot longer than, so I can see that. Like sometimes the court be done in like 30 minutes. Okay. So if somebody decides that they want to represent themselves, what steps would they take? What should they know? And what steps do they take in order to represent themselves in regards to custody or any kind of legal matter regarding the kid?
3 things I always say to pro se litigants when they're starting out. And the first one is get at least 3 free consultations from lawyers on a specific jurisdiction. At least 3. Lawyers do free consultations. Take advantage of it. Get them. It doesn't hurt, right? The other thing is there's so many free resources out there. There's no excuse. There's no reason why you should not know for yours, but not social media, not going into these groups, letting these non-lawyers tell you what to do. No, go into justeer.com, nolo.com. There's so many free resources. Go on there, do a little reading, prepare yourself, because it also serves to minimize the intimidation once you are in the process. Once you know and you've done a little research, then you're less intimidated, because some of intimidation comes from just not knowing. You know, when we're oblivious, that's intimidating in and of itself. And the third thing is, you know, when there's now, more so than 10 years ago, now there's so many other ways to get help when you need help, right? There's limited scope. That's some of what I do, actually, at the divorce solution.
I want to go into what you do.
Yeah. Is unbundled services, but there's limited scope services, there's document preparation services, there's people that will help you to do, you know, pieces of your case. You don't have to get a lawyer, spend $15,000 on a custody case when you don't have it, right? Spend $500 and get almost better help than you had spend that $15,000. But don't be resilient. Just keep looking and don't give up. Please stay off social media asking these non-lawyers for legal advice. Please.
I sure was telling people about the IRS thing I saw going around. You told me that don't work.
No, it don't. I'm like, oh my God, please, guys, listen and you know, do some you discernment. That's all I say. Use some critical thinking and ask yourself, does this really make any sense? Or just break it down. Break that down. Exactly what that might mean for you. You know what I'm saying? That's it. Yes.
All right, got. So we're coming to the end. I don't see any questions in the comment section. Someone said that a judge may give you the short end of the stick if they are aggravated, which is very true. I've known that from experience that some judges, they're going to be aggravated regardless to if you bother them.
Exactly.
It's just who they are.
Exactly.
It's just who they are.
There's no win. So, and I was telling somebody the other day.
Request a different judge?
So that's a trick. That it depends, because some jurisdictions don't. There's not. You don't have that many that are available. So to even go through that process is a waste of time. But sometimes what it does depending on, some states don't play that. Some courts are, they're big on that. If you ask for another judge, they're going to question what happened and they're going to look into that. They're going to explore that. So it depends on the jurisdiction you're in. New York City, no. You ask for another judge, they're going to laugh at you and they're going to say, you know what? It's the same judge that gets to decide if they should be. So it's a joke. But in smaller towns and smaller jurisdictions, it might be more feasible to do that. Yes.
Got it. Okay, so we got about 5 minutes. I want you to tell us all about what you do and how you can support people that decide to go pro se, meaning represent themselves, and how we can find you on social media or in person.
Okay. So, yes, I am the divorce solutionist at divorcesolutions.com, Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff. But what I do coaching, I do consulting, and I do unbundled services. So the unbundled services are, I do document preparation, document review, I do some case law research, I do private investigation, I do uncontested divorce. But my biggest thing that I'm really proud of now is I'm starting a group coaching program just for pro se litigants where we'll go for 12 whole weeks. We'll go from wherever they are and we'll take them through the whole 12 weeks. I'll teach them how to use strategy for every phase of their case so that even when they're done with me, they'll understand that if they ever go back to court, they'll know how to use certain things to their benefit and to their advantage and not run in the corner thinking that it's the end of the world. That's coming. I'm working on that as we speak, actually. I'm working on that. That's gonna be huge, but I'm hoping that really helps a lot of people. It's really for pro se litigants, but if you're represented, it's for you as well. But that's going to be a 12-week program that's coming up, and we're going to do some live coaching sessions together, via video chat, and it's going to be super helpful. So that's the one I'm most proud of, and I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to reach a wide group of people, so I can help them get through to help them, because it's going to focus on the mindset thing too. I think mindset is a huge part of a lot of what. So it's going to focus on that too. So yes. So I'm at the Divorce Solutionist on Instagram, the Divorce Solutionist on Facebook. I got a couple of groups. If you go to any of my pages, you'll see the group there somewhere. And the divorcesolutionist.com is my website. So if anybody needs to reach me, you can find me at any of those places. And I do 15-minute consultations too for free. So take advantage of that too. I'm here for you guys. So.
That's so good. And just because it's divorce solutions does not mean that if you were not married that you can't benefit from this service.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. I'm a family court strategist. That's what I call myself now. Yes.
So good. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Tracey, for joining us.
Having me. Yes.
I really appreciate it. She is a wealth of knowledge. I didn't know that you were a lawyer before. I didn't know that.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, so that's good. So you really know what you're doing. So that's really good. I love it. So very good. So anyone that's listening, I want you to make sure that you come back next week. We have the panel of seasoned moms, nanas, grandma, conscious moms who have raised their children and are raising their grandkids, helping to raise their grandkids now. We're going to sit at their feet and we're going to listen to wisdom. It will be next week, same place, same time, 8 p.m. Thursday. Join us. Bye, everyone. Bye, Tracey.